I think I'm gonna keep on rolling with basically the same process today. Let me just check something here. I had a okay, basically same process. All right, see if I can organize my setup. Yeah, looks about right. Okay, looks about right. All right, do a quick sound check. I think I got the wrong glasses again. I need like I need like colored tape or something so I can differentiate with the colored tape. Okay. Alright, okay. So let's see, I thought I'd maybe warm up with going back to so I'm going to go back to this, and again, I'm going to try to name all these nodes and try to get my terminology down, because I'd like to be able to, like I said, express it and name exactly what I'm doing from both the most efficient way I see of doing it, that I believe is the most efficient way, and in the way that is most commonly used, the most common parlance, as with the analogy of accounting, which everybody loves from music theory, because let's just face it, music is where people that just didn't want to follow their dream of being an accountant. They didn't think they could hack it. They end up playing music, you know. So they feel a little, but I still think it's a relevant comparison to do the accounting, where you have like the debits and credits are the actually more efficient than the accounting equation, but the accounting equation is what the financial statements are in, you know, because you have to put in the normal parlance for other people. That's the same thing here. The current system is a little clunky, and we can trim it down, and then just basically, I just can't get quite comfortable, and then we could basically just translate it, put that trial balance into a financial statement format. That's the equivalence. So that's the project. But I'll warm up here. I'm thinking to go back to like just trying to do like a rhythm thing with my 2 notes per string. So I'll go from each node. So 6, 7, 1, 2. I'm just gonna try to think about like different ways to like do my scale going backwards like this, and what that might entail. So 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then open. I could go open 6 to close that bad doggy out if I want to do a scale. So kind of interesting because it's like I'm like walking down, but I'm going up the neck. That's kind of, it feels a little weird. I kind of like it though because I'm walking down in pitch, but I'm going up. I'm walking down in pitch, but up the guitar. So how else could I bridge that? I can say if I'm doing, I could like keep my finger down here and slide back. I could, when I'm reaching back up this way, I could like reach with my pinky to the far note so that I reposition. So then I can walk up without leaving my fingers. half-step chromatic slide into it. So I can always walk up with this finger. So when I walk up, maybe I use my ring finger and I chromatic slide into it. So when I'm walking up, I go. try to go the other way. 2 notes per string. I won't go up a scale. I'll just play it rhythmically this way. But this time I'm going to skip every other note, so it's not like Django, because I think he walks up. So this time I'm going to move up each time, because I think Django walks up the half steps. Because if I had 2 fingers, that's what I would do. I don't know. But I'm going to try. That's cool too. But I'm going to try doing this way. This will move me up the fretboard faster. So now I'm going 6, 7, 4, 5, 1, 2, 5, 6. So Aeolian, Locrian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Ionian, Dorian, and then Mixolydian, Aeolian. So I get back to the root, but it's a funky. I'm going second modal whole step to 7, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4 to a fourth. Second modal half step to a fourth modal half step, second modal half step to a fourth modal half step. So that would be first modal half step to a fourth modal half step. So I'm walking in terms of fifth modal half steps, which are the 4th scale degrees. So that's actually walking. If you combine those 2 steps together, that's actually walking in fives, which would be a perfect 4th distance. So that would be going around the circle of 4ths, basically, because from here to here is 2, and then from here to here is 5, 6. That would be an 8, right? This was 2, 5, 6, 6, 7. It would be an 8s. That's weird. I don't know. Anyway, let's just do it. I don't care. Interesting. That's not right. Is that right? That would be. Now, why am I going up that way? Let's do it this way. I want to go from here to here. Let's not jump that quick. And then it's the next one underneath my finger, which is here. And then the next one under my finger would be here. There. Let's try that. So now, that's a step of 2, and then 5. That's a 7th step. So we're going in. If I combine those 2 steps, that would be stepping up a 5th, and then 1, and then 5, 6. So once again, that would be a 5th. So this would be going in 5ths. Right, because then if I ended off, I'd be down here in 12, in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, I think that this makes sense. It's going to end off down here. So now I'm going 6, 7, 3, 4, 7, 1, 4, 5, 6. All right. 6, 7, 3, 4, 7, 1. See, I think if it was Django, he would go down to 3, 4. I'm guessing to stay on those 2 note per strings. But I'm gonna go up because I have a functioning. So I'm gonna go with 7, 1, 3, 4, and then this. And yeah, that 6 is not right. The 6 should be up here, right? If I follow the pattern. And then it would continue up 7, 1. It would repeat in 12 steps, so it's not going to repeat. I would have to go all the way around again. Okay, so but that's fine. So okay, 6, 6, 6, 7, 3, 4, 7, 1, 3, 4. Let's just try half of it. Let's just try to go down to this node and stop it there, just for a nice little pattern. Just to get up there. What's the best way to transition between that? I could like put my like finger on the ones below it and slide up. But then when I slide back, it's kind of sketchy because I want to make sure I'm in the same collection of notes. So then when I go back, I'd have to slide back to the next note in the collection, which would be here. Otherwise, I have to pick my fingers up, which is kind of a cool sound either. Makes it sound more chunky. That's pretty cool. So I should keep on noodling around with that. So I can try to get that diagonal pattern, and once I see that, I should be able to cut through the boxes a little faster, maybe, I would think. What if I did a 3-note per string and I tried to move up one step? So it's going to be one step up in the collection. So it'd be going here, 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 and then I'm going to go one step up in the collection here, which would be diagonal here, here, here. I end up with a repeat. 6, 7, 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 1, 2. 6, 7, 1. Then I skip the 2. 3, 4, 5. Skip the 6. 7, 1, 3. Interesting. I can actually get the 2 because maybe I walk up that way. So it's the same pattern. I'm just adding another. It's actually the same pattern. I'm just hitting the pinky note on there. It's the same moves. But it would be hard to go back to the pinky on the without going like that. It's actually possible if I could see it. So I could try to, when I'm down here, I'm going to try to reach with my pinky up to this note and try to visualize that rather than sliding this finger back and then reach into the pinky. So I would either slide my pointer back like here, that's easier for me to visualize, and then hit the pinky, or I just grab pinky straight up, maybe even get a double stop pinky pointer. I could do that the other way, saying if I have my pinky here, instead of I can slide up like that, or pinky pointer that's another way to do it. All right. Interesting. So you can't really do that if it's just two fingers. Because two fingers will always lean forward. That's interesting. All right, well. What if I do two fingers and then I slide forward? I always slide forward. Two fingers slide forward. can mess with that forever. Oh, man. Whew. All right, well, let me try a joke break, and then I'll go into my other thing, maybe. Let's see. All right, what was my joke today? Double-edged sword. I think there's a conspiracy around this saying, and it's starting to open my eyes to the conspiracy of changing the metaphors and whatnot. I'm telling you, these deconstructivists, man, they're messing everything up, and we don't even know it. Okay, so, okay. ChatGTP kept messing my thing up. ChatGPT went woke. All of a sudden, like 2 days ago, it went woke like overnight, man. I don't know what happened. But, anyways, so, let's see. The ChatGPT music mafia shill keeps saying my system is a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword, man. And it's like, I'm like, dude, yes, that's not a flaw. That's literally a feature. You know, why do people use this double-edged sword like it's bad? Why? Because it's a European sword? Is that why? Is that why it's bad? What is wrong with the... I mean, a sword with two edges is called efficient. That's a benefit. I kind of feel like if you had hands, chat, that had ever physically held an object before, you'd realize this. As long as you grab the handle, you're fine with the double edges. Just don't grab the edges. That's like just for Christ. Although many people seem to demonize the double-edged sword, the blade part, that's the part you don't hold. That's all you have to know. This is day one sword awareness. Hold the handle part of the sword. People act like double-edged sword means it's randomly attacks you, like the sword attacks you or something. No, it only cuts if you grab it wrong, you know? I mean, which honestly might explain the criticism because you've got crazy people. You know. So now if it were a handle-edged sword, like the handle was sharp or something, which would be a weird design, that would be a design flaw. We'd have a problem there. Behold, my revolutionary weapon. It injures only the user. That's not very useful. That's not a sword. That's a corporate training seminar. But double-edged, that just means fewer swings. It's productivity. It's the Excel shortcut of medieval weaponry. And somehow people demonize it, you know? I feel like this saying was created from the we hate the Second Amendment types, but for like the Middle Ages. So they're like, I mean, the Vikings loved those guys, right? Yeah, just keep on demonizing your double-edged swords over there. That's great. The middle-edged super progressives were like, you can have only one edge, but that's it. Why? Because double edges kill, man. Double edges kill, and it's like, what? What does that even mean? What does that even mean? Apparently, the second edges were like adding a longer clip to the sword or something. They wouldn't allow it. You can't put two edges on it. What are you, a monster? And so what? We can only have like katanas? Is that what's happening here? I see what's happening. Hollywood has a big katana market going on. So they're sword shaming the double-edged swords. That's what's happening. They're sword shaming because they want to sell, because they're invested in the katana. Have two edges if you have two edges on your sword, that would expose your privilege, man. That would expose your privilege. It's like, okay, fine. I'd rather have my privilege exposed than my pelvis. Okay? I don't know. I was looking at this double-edged sword. I think it's in Proverbs. They mention a double-edged sword. And it's like, I think it mentions it in the context of a woman, a certain type of woman that you should stay away from because she's like a double-edged sword. She will cut you coming and going, right? She's dangerous, right? I think that's and I can only imagine that like that like some deconstructivist super like geeky, progressive person was like, "Oh no, we can't." Probably a feminist was going, "No, we can't have that. We can't have that." No, that it wasn't. It's not the sword. It's not. It's the woman that was wield. It's the sword. It's the sword's fault. It's the sword. Not only that, but it's because you hold the sword wrong. It's your fault. I think they do the same thing to like there's a double-edged tongue thing as well, a double-edged tongue. And I think if we heard double-edged tongue, we would think like, oh, that's bad. He's too good at like explaining stuff. You know what? Like it's a bad thing or something. It's like, well, no, it's like I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be like a double-edged tongue of truth. It's kind of like it's like that is cutting through the bad the corruption. The double-edged sword of truth is cutting through the calcified corruption. You're supposed to have it. It's sharp. It's better. I don't know. They messed up. Someone's messing up the analogies, man. I'm telling you, they're two edges are bad. There's it's immediate. I mean, oh, all right. I'm gonna.
ChatGPT, the music mafia shill, keeps telling me my system kills. It's a double-edged sword. He cries like that's some kind of grand surprise, and I'm like, yes, that's not a flaw, my friend. That's literally progress. A sword with two edges, that's called efficient. Less swing, more cut, that's called proficient. Double-edged, sharp on both sides. That's how you hold with pride. Grab the handle, you're just fine. It's not the blade's fault, you ignore the sign. Double-edged, faster done. Two clean cuts instead of one. If you bleed, that's user error. Don't blame the tool for your terror. If you've ever held an object in your hands, you probably understand the blade part. That's not the grip. They want sword awareness tip. People act like awakes at night and randomly starts a fight. No, it only cuts when you grab it wrong, which might explain who's mad at this song. Now if the handle itself was sharp, yeah, that design would miss the mark. Behold, my blade harms the user. Congratulations, you built a loser. Double-edged, sharp on both sides. That's optimized, not villainized. Fewer swings, cleaner line. It's medieval, except patrol divine. Double-edged, that's productivity. Two clean slice of efficiency. Double-edged, 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 double-edged. Somewhere in the Middle Ages, town hall square, committees clutching pearls in prayer. You may have one edge, that's enough. Two edges, that's just too. The Vikings in the back row grin. Yeah, we'll take two. We like to win. Apparently, the second edge is like adding a clip extension. Wait, what? To a sword, that metaphor needs attention. So what now? Only katanas allowed. Spotlights, fog machines, dramatic and loud. Behind velvet ropes, the long swords sit controversial. Imagine that bit, sword streaming medieval steel because two edges hurt your feel. Having both sides shows privilege, man. Cool, I'll take that trade if I can. Double-edged, let it gleam. It's not oppression, it's a clean machine. Hold it right and you'll prevail. Hold it wrong, that's user fail. Double-edged, I'll say it well. It's a feature, not a eclectic spell. Expose my privilege, that's swell. I'd rather that than my pelvis swell. Double-edged, double-edged, double-edged. Let it gleam, it's not oppression, it's a clean machine. Hold it right and you'll prevail. Hold it wrong, that's user fail. Double-edged, I'll say it well. It's a feature, not a clutchy spell. Expose my privilege, that's swell. I'd rather that than my pelvis swell.
All right. Okay. Let's go back to it. All right, I'm going to go back to practicing this one now. All right. So let's see if I'm still in key, and if I need to check this real quick. All right. Yeah. By the way, I'm not left-handed. I don't want to like try to represent like I'm a lefty here. I flipped it the other way so that you could, because my theory is that the mirror reflection is easier to map onto the fretboard, which is also represented as a mirror expression with a low or heavy E string on top. So yeah. I mean, I don't know, but I play normal. I just flipped it. Okay. So, all right, so let's go back. So I'm going to map this whole thing out again. And I'm concentrating on the naming conventions just to get them in like my head. And so let's start off once again at the collection of notes around, I'm calling it 4 o'clock, key of C. And so now I'm going to say that the one I'm on is going to be this node here. So 4 o'clock. So I'm going to say that at 4 o'clock, we're at the key of C, which means the Ionian is on C, top string, 10th fret, first string down, 8th fret, first string down from the ceiling, bringing that back to the pointer, 5th fret, first string down from the ceiling, Aeolian. So that's going to be what I would call position number 1, which you might call the Ionian position, or the Aeolian position, or the Ionian G shape from a caged system. We're focusing on the root within that collection of notes being the Mixolydian, so 3rd string down from the ceiling, fret number 5. I'm putting my finger on like the star of G, and that happens to be nodal point or continent in our Earth analogy of the Mixolydian. And then I'm building what I call a lean back chord defined by the second modal half step, 3rd scale degree, being in the lower left quadrant. So that means that the nodal point number 7 is always and I'm just trying to get my terminology right here. From a measurement standpoint, if I was building a chord, I would jump by modal whole steps. So it would always be the first modal whole step, the Mixolydian first modal whole step, the Mixolydian times 2, second modal half step, the Mixolydian 3rd scale degree, which has a long distance as opposed to short distance, or major as opposed to minor distance, which is 4 notes away rather than 3 notes away. And then here, this is going to be the Dorian, which is the 4th modal half step, 5th scale degree relative to this Mixolydian. That means that the nodal point number 2 is always, from a chord construction standpoint, the Mixolydian 2nd modal whole step times 2 Mixolydian 4th modal half step plus 1 Mixolydian 5th scale degree, and it has a long distance, which you could call a perfect distance, as opposed to a short distance, which you might call a diminished distance. So the long distance is 7 notes away versus 6 notes away. And then we've got the 7, which is out here. I'm going to bring that back to here. That's where it should be. And so that means that nodal point number 4 is always, from a chord construction standpoint, the 3rd modal whole step times 2 the Mixolydian 6th modal half step plus 1 the Mixolydian 7th scale degree, which has a short distance or minor distance of 10 notes away as opposed to a long distance or major distance of 11 notes away. And then we had the 9 here, and that means that nodal point number 6, Aeolian, is always the Mixolydians from a chord construction, 4th modal whole step times 2 8th modal half step, Mixolydian 8th modal half step plus 1 Mixolydian 9th scale degree. If it's 8 modal half steps up and there's only 7 modal half steps, it has a local distance of 8 minus 7, or 1 modal half step, which would mean a 2nd scale degree. So in other words, from a local distance, we have a Mixolydian, a long distance of 2 notes away for that first modal half step, second scale degree, which you might call major, versus 1 note away, which would be minor. And then the one we're focused on here is the Ionian, is the one that we just added, which is now the 11th, right? So the 11th is equivalent, the 10th modal half step, 11th scale degree is equivalent to the third modal half step, 4th scale degree. And so it's the Ionian here. And so the Ionian is always, from a chord construction standpoint, the 5th modal whole step times 2 would be the 10th modal half step, plus 1 would be the Mixolydian 11th scale degree. If it's 10 modal half steps up, then that's greater than 7, so we've gone around the block. So 10 minus 7 is 3, so it's equivalent to Mixolydian 3 modal half steps up, plus 1 would be the 4th scale degree. In other words, 3, 1, 2, 3 modal half steps up, or the 4th scale degree if I make that the 1. So, and it has a distance of, if I'm looking at the 3rd modal half step, 4th scale degree, it has a short distance, which you might call the perfect distance, as opposed to the long distance, which would be the augmented distance. So this is the one that's weird, and that is that the normal distance is the short distance of 5 notes away, and the unusual one is the long distance. The only one that would be a long distance is if you measured it from the Lydian node, right? So if I measured if I see it right here, these two, if I measured from the Ionian 1, 2, 3 modal half step, 4th scale degree, it would be here. But if I measure from the Lydian, then I'm going to be out here. So that's the only one where you get that tritone long distance. So this is the weird one because the norm is the short distance of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes away. Okay, so that's going to be the general idea. Now, if I was going to play that, then I'd have to drop pretty much everything else if I'm going to play it back here with that one way back there. So you'd have to call that, like, from a normal naming convention, it would be like a G major, add 11 or something like that. I'd rather call it something from the perspective of the node, so I would call it a Mixolydian 1 because I'm dropping the 5, a Mixolydian 1 because there's going to be 1 modal whole step to get to the next node, so that would cover the 5 and the 7, and then say plus in half steps the 3rd modal half step. So it'd be like a Mixolydian 1 plus 3, right? Mixolydian 1 plus 3. The 1 stands for whole steps, the 3 stands for half steps, so that I can basically name that as short as possible with 4 characters or something. Anyway, so let's just analyze it now as if I want to change it to an Aeolian. So if I have my finger on the star of G and I want to change it back to the Aeolian, then I can imagine here, then this Aeolian is leaning forward into what I would call shape number 2, which you might call the Locrian/Ionian shape or the Ionian E shape from a caged system. So if I was to play it from there, I could say, okay, I would just be like, Aeolian would be right there. So I'd go, okay, that would just be like 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could just imagine that this 5 is that shape. So anytime the 3rd string down from the ceiling is Aeolian, now I'm going to make that G a 6 by just imagining that I'm leaning forward into shape number 2. So it'd be 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that means, what does that mean in terms of the collection of notes? That means if I'm on my fingers on the star of G, the planet is rotating 2 ticks to the left. So if I'm on 4 o'clock, which represents a C, collection notes C, that would be to 2 o'clock, which would be A sharp. So I'm going to hit the 2 o'clock. This bounces back. I haven't picked my finger up, but now the planet spun underneath it so that now I have my finger on the Aeolian. The G, it's still on G, but it's Aeolian. All right, so now I'm leaning forward into the shape number 2, or Locrian / Ionian shape, or the Ionian E shape. Let's bring it back to 4, and let's imagine that I only know the Aeolian from like the top string, because I memorized the shape from the top string closest to the ceiling. Well, I could play it up here. I could say, okay, I know it from here. 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Can I just imagine like this star of G was like the top string of shape number 1? We can, as long as we account for the kink in the tuning. So I'm going to play the G as though it's the top string of shape number 1. 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. But then I have to shift it up because of the kink in the tuning. Let me try that again. 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think I got that right. So that means, why does that work? Because if I move this down 2 ticks, each tick down is equivalent to 5 ticks to the right or 7 ticks to the left. So if I move this down 2 ticks, that would be equivalent to 10 ticks to the right. If I'm at 4 o'clock plus 10, that would be 14 o'clock, which is greater than 12. So 14 minus 12 is 4 minus 2, which would be 2. So once again, I get to 7 plus 2 is 6 o'clock. Which is the same thing. It should be 2 o'clock. It was down 2 would be 10, and then 10 plus 4 is 14. 14 minus 2 would be 2. So it has to go down 2. It'd be negative 2 to get to 2 o'clock. So if I go down 2, it'd be 10. That would be equivalent, and I'm at 14. All right, my head just kind of lost it there. But it should go back down to 2 o'clock. Down to, it'd be down 2 would be 10 to the right, plus 14 to the right. 14 minus 12 would be 4 minus 2, which would be 2 to the right, I would think. But it needs to be 2 to the left. Where am I going wrong? I don't know. Let me just mull it over for a second here. But if I change this to a 2, I can visualize these two moving down, and as those move down, they're going to cross the fault line. So you would think they would move straight down, like those two would be right here and these two, but they're going to shift up because of the kink in the tuning. So that means that this 5-1 is going to be up here, 5-1, because of the kink in the tuning. Otherwise, everything will shift down if I bring that to a 2, right? There it is. So boom, and then the 5-1 shifted out here. I still don't see what I'm missing if I bring it down. So I'm just, I don't know. I'll have to think about it later. My head's drawing a blank right now. So, okay. So let's analyze that. So what has happened to all my intervals look like they're on a continent. So it looks like the relative positions all still work, except for this one. What is that one? That's the second modal half step third scale degree. So we went from something that's in the major group, which I'm calling the long start group, versus the minor group, Aeolian, which is defined by having a short third versus a long third, right? So that means that this needs to be, if I'm looking for the second modal half step third scale degree, if I'm on 6 plus 2, 6, 7 goes around the horn to 1. So that means that the Ionian is always the Aeolian's first modal whole step, Aeolian's second modal half step, Aeolian third scale degree, which has a short distance, 3 notes away, as opposed to a long distance of 4 notes away. And then we know that the fourth modal half step fifth, it has the same relative distance from the Aeolian as it would from the Mixolydian. And so that means that nodal point 3, the Phrygian is always the Aeolian's second modal whole step times 2, fourth modal half step plus 1, Aeolian's fifth scale degree, which has a long distance or perfect distance 7 notes away, as opposed to a short distance or flat distance or diminished distance of 6 notes away. And then we have the 7th has the same relative position, even though that would be a short distance or minor distance, because the Mixolydian has a short or minor 6th modal half step 7th scale degree. So that means that the Mixolydian node is always the Aeolian's 3rd modal whole step times 2, Aeolian 6th modal half step plus 1, the Aeolian 7th scale degree, which has a short or minor distance of 10 notes away, as opposed to a long or major distance of 11 notes away. And then we have the 9 here, still in the same relative position from the Mixolydian to the Aeolian. And that makes sense because the 9 is equivalent. The 8th modal half step 9 is equivalent to the 1st modal half step 2nd, which is always major, meaning has the long distance, except if you're measuring from the Locrian or the Phrygian. So that means that 7 is equivalent to one a local distance of 1 modal half step away. So that means that the nodal point number 7 from a chord standpoint building is always the 4th modal whole step, or the Aeolian's 4th modal whole step, Aeolian's times 2, 8 modal half step, or Aeolian's plus 1, 9th scale degree. So if I go 8 modal half steps up, I've gone around the circle. So 8 minus 7 would be equivalent to Aeolian's 1st modal half step, which is equivalent to Aeolian's 2nd scale degree. So, and it has a local distance of a long 1st modal half step or 2nd scale degree, which is 2 notes away, major, as opposed to a short, which would only be 1 note away. And then we have the this node, the one that we just added, which is nodal point number, which is a distance of 11. It's the 10th modal half step 11th scale degree, and that would be equivalent to a local distance over here. So the 10th modal half step 11th scale degree is equivalent to the 3rd modal half step 4th scale degree from a local perspective. So that means that the nodal point number 2, Dorian, is always, from a chord building perspective, Aeolian's 5th modal whole step times 2, Aeolian's 10th modal half step plus 1, Aeolian's 11th scale degree. And we know that if it's 10 modal half steps up, we've gone around the circle. So it's going to be 10 minus 7 would be equivalent to 3 Aeolian's 3rd modal half step, which would be Aeolian's 4th scale degree if I make this the 1. And we know that it has a normal short distance, which we call a perfect distance, as opposed to an unusual long distance, which would be an augmented distance. The only one that has an augmented distance is if you measured from the Lydian node, it would have that longer distance. Okay, so there it is. That's going to be it. So that makes sense, I think. So I have the same. Well, this one's a little bit easier to get to now. Is that right? No, that's not right. What the heck am I doing? So I'm really only playing these three, and that last string is wonky because I need to adjust my guitar, but whatever. It's buzzy. It's buzzy. That's okay. So, okay. So what would I call that? If I just played those three notes, what would I have to call that? That would be like a G minor add 11 or something like that. But I'd rather call it from the Aeolian's perspective an Aeolian 1, because that would give me the Aeolian distance to the next note that's to the next note in the stack, because we dropped the 5. So I'm just going to call it an Aeolian 1 modal whole step plus the one that's going to be plus the 10 modal half steps. So it'd be Aeolian 1 plus 10, or no, Aeolian 1 plus the 4. I'm tired. Aeolian 1 plus 4, so or something like that, right? Because you could actually name it, if you could name it by the nodal point. It's the Aeolian first modal whole step plus nodal point 2 Dorian, because I think that would be easier than naming it by the note name. But if you're doing it by distance, I think it would be Aeolian first modal whole step, which would be the Aeolian 1. That would give you the only stack that's in order, and then add the jump, and in half steps, plus and in half steps, that one is the third modal half step. So Aeolian 1 plus 3, and if you want to bring it an octave up, Aeolian 1 plus 3, up an octave, or plus the high 3, or plus the up 3, plus 3 up an octave, so it would be an octave higher, raised. Aeolian 1 plus 3 raised 1, or something like that. Yeah, but I don't know. Anyway, let's see. Let's analyze it this way. Oh wait, I'm missing my other worksheet. I should update the worksheets for download, because I don't think this bit is on there. This is okay. So now I'm going to say, okay, now I've got the map of the world mapped out and the constellation of the stars above it. I'm in 4 o'clock, collection of notes around the key of C. We're on the Mixolydian node. fifth fret up, third string down from the ceiling, leaning forward into shape number 1, which you might call the Aeolian shape or the Ionian G shape. If I want to make it Aeolian, I could look at that Aeolian and say, well, if that's Mixolydian, 5, Aeolian is 1 modal half step up, which is obviously a whole step up because the formula never changes. It's always a whole step going from nodal point 5 Mixolydian to nodal point 6 Aeolian. So that means that if I keep my finger there, I can move it 2 steps back. Now, if this 6 is leaning forward into shape number 2, which you might call the Locrian / Ionian shape or the Ionian E shape from a caged system. So that means I can think about this G, this position most cleanly as though it's the third string down. Anytime the third string down from the ceiling is I want it to be an Aeolian, then I'm leaning forward into shape number 2. So if I'm at 4 o'clock, meaning that Ionian is a C, and I move it back 2 ticks, it's going to be 4 minus 2, which will get me to 2 o'clock, which means that Ionian will be on an A sharp. So I'm going to move it back 2 ticks. And so now from the perspective of the yellow, this is still 5 frets up and 3 strings down. It's still the star of G, but now it's leaning forward into shape number 2, which you might call the Locrian / Ionian shape or the Ionian E shape. Okay, let's move it back. Now the one I was getting confused on is here, what if I know it from this shape up top? So I know if I play the Aeolian from the shape up top, this would be shape number 1. And that's the one I'm already in. I'm leaning into it. But I want to imagine the star of G as though it's the top string of shape number 1. That would mean I'm moving it down 2 ticks. Each tick down is equivalent to 5 ticks to the right. So if I'm at 4 o'clock, then you would think that would be 10 o'clock, 10 ticks to the right. It would be 10 ticks to the right, equivalent to go 2 ticks down. And if I'm at 4 plus 10 would be 14. So that would be 14 minus 12, because it is 2. But that, I would think that would be meaning I'd have to go to 4 o'clock to 6 o'clock. So something like I'm going the wrong way somehow. Because if I move 1 tick down, is equivalent to 5 ticks to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah? So 2 ticks down would be equivalent to 10 ticks to the right. Right? And so that would be 10. If I'm at 4 o'clock, that would be 14. 14. And then 14 minus 12 would be 2. I'm at 14 minus would be 2, but it needs to be negative 2 is what I'm tripping on. Like, because I feel like that would be positive 2. Because it needs to go back negative 2. It'd be 10. It'd be equivalent to 14 ticks to the right, which means we would go all the way around 12 ticks plus another 2 ticks. Would be a net of 2 ticks to the right, which would give me here. Like, what am I doing wrong? I know I'm doing something just stupid, because I know I've done this like 100 times. 2 ticks down. 1 tick down is equivalent to 5 ticks to the right. 2 ticks down is equivalent to 10 ticks to the right. Right. 2 ticks down is equivalent to 10 ticks to the right. If I went 10 ticks to the right, I would be at Ionian, would be at 2 o'clock, A sharp, because this is 6th fret, 1 up, 2 o'clock. Okay, that makes sense. So if I move this down, the Ionian is at 2 o'clock. So if I go 10 ticks to the right, and I'm at 4 o'clock, plus 10 would be 14 o'clock. There is no 14 o'clock. 14 minus 12 would get me back to 2. 14 minus 12 is 4 minus 2, would get me to 2. but I would think it would be 2 clockwise. But it's counterclockwise. It's counterclockwise. What am I missing here? It's driving me crazy. I can't take it. Something is wrong. I don't know, like I hit a glitch here. Like I know it works. I'm thinking something stupid because I've done this a million times. 2 ticks down is 10 to the right. If I'm at 4 o'clock, that would be equivalent to me going 10 ticks to the right. So if this is the Ionian, I would be going 10 ticks. The Ionian is on a C, and I'd be going 10 ticks to the right, which I know is going to put the Ionian on, because if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that puts the Ionian on A sharp. That's correct. So if I went 10 ticks to the right, and I was on the collection at 4 o'clock, that should be 4 plus 10 is 14 minus 12. All right, I'm just being stupid right now. I'm not going to waste your time with listening to my spinning my mind on this, because my mind is doing something stupid. So let's just look at it this way and say, okay, now I've mapped out all of the notes on top. So now I have open E is nodal point 3 Phrygian, open A is nodal point 6 Aeolian, open D is nodal point 2 Dorian, open G is nodal point 5 Mixolydian, kink in the tuning shown by the shape representation. Open B is nodal point 7 Locrian, open E is nodal point 3 Phrygian. So if I go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets up, 3 strings down from the ceiling, my finger's on the star of G. If I want to make that's leaning forward into shape number 1, or the Ionian G shape. I want to make that G Aeolian. I see an Aeolian over here, so that means I have to move it. I can move it back 2 ticks. This Aeolian's leaning forward into shape number 2, or the Ionian E shape. So if I move this back 2 ticks, boom. So now I can see that from the perspective of the yellow, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm on the 5th fret up, 3rd string down from the ceiling, still on the star of G, but now it's nodal point 6, leaning forward into shape number 1, which you can see is the A sharp, or collection of notes at 2 o'clock. If I number the collections based on the major skit 1, anyway, A1, A sharp, 2, and so on. So that's going to be nodal shape number 2, or the Ionian E shape. So then if I go back this way, so then I'm going to say, okay, then if I know it from the Aeolian up top, I can see that I just need to move the Aeolian down 2 ticks, which is equivalent, here we go again, to 10 ticks to the right, which should get me to 4 o'clock plus 2 plus 10 would be 14 o'clock. But let's not go. If I move it down 2 ticks, then there we have it. So now from the perspective of the yellow, I'm still 5th fret, 3rd string down. Finger hasn't moved from the star of G, but it's leaning forward into, from the perspective of the yellow, shape number 2, or the E shape from a cage system. But the red is showing us that I can visualize it as though it was the top string of shape number 1, as long as I account for the kink in the tuning. All right. I'm just so frustrated on that my head is not working about that thing. It's just my head. It works. It's just something is wrong with my head. I know, no crap. Okay. Let's not get personal. Like, I'm just saying whatever. I don't know.